President Donald Trump in the Oval Office of the White House in Washington. President-elect Donald Trump and his wife Melania Trump are greeted by President Barack Obama and his wife First Lady Michelle Obama, upon arriving at the White House in Washington, D.C. before being sworn in as the nation's 45th president during an inaugural ceremony at the U.S. Capitol. President Barack Obama greets President-elect Donald Trump on the west front of the U.S. Capitol. Attendees line the mall as they watch ceremonies to swear in Donald Trump on Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Donald Trump sings to the song, My Way, while dancing with First Lady Melania Trump during the inaugural Liberty Ball at the Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer makes a statement to members of the media at the James Brady Press Briefing Room of the White House in Washington, D.C. This was Spicer's first press conference as press secretary, where he spoke about the media's reporting on the inauguration's crowd size. U.S. President Donald Trump congratulates senior counselor to the president Stephen Bannon during the swearing-in of senior staff in the East Room of the White House in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Donald Trump shakes hands with James Comey, director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI), during an inaugural law enforcement officers and first responders reception in the Blue Room of the White House in Washington, D.C. Prime Minister Theresa May with U.S. President Donald Trump walk along the colonnade at the White House. U.S. President Donald Trump signs an executive order in the Oval Office of the White House February 9, 2017 in Washington, D.C. Prior to signing the three executive orders, Trump participated in the swearing-in ceremony for new Attorney General Jeff Sessions, along with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, and Sessions' wife Mary, Muslim women protest against U.S. President Donald Trump on. In Chicago, Illinois, counselor to the president Kellyanne Conway checks her phone after taking a photo as U.S. President Donald Trump and leaders of historically black universities and colleges pose for a group photo in the Oval Office of the White House before a meeting with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence in Washington, D.C. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel and Ivanka Trump talk before a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump and business leaders in the Cabinet Room of the White House in Washington, D.C. U.S. President Donald J. Trump gets in the driver's seat of an 18-wheeler while meeting with truck drivers and trucking CEOs on the South Portico prior to their meeting to discuss health care at the White House in Washington, D.C., USA. 23 March 2017. The House of Representatives has yet to vote on the Republican-crafted American Health Care Act that would replace the Affordable Care Act, as it remained unclear whether Republicans had enough votes to overcome opposition from Democrats and those within their own party. EPA, Jim Lowe SCALZOUS. President Donald Trump delivers remarks from the Truman balcony with First Lady Melania Trump and their son Barron Trump during the 139th Easter egg roll on the South Lawn of the White House in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Donald Trump, speaks while flanked by House Republicans after they passed legislation aimed at repealing and replacing Obamacare, during an event in the Rose Garden at the White House in Washington, D.C. The House bill would still need to pass the Senate before being signed into law. U.S. President Donald Trump visits the Western Wall, the holiest site where Jews can pray in Jerusalem's Old City. Pope Francis walks along with U.S. President Donald Trump and U.S. First Lady Melania Trump during a private audience at the Vatican. European Council. President Donald Tusk, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, U.S. President Donald Trump, Italian Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni, French President Emmanuel Macron, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, British Prime Minister Theresa May and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker pose for the group photo at the G7 Taormina summit on the island of Sicily on May 26, 2017 in Taormina, Italy. Leaders of the G7 group of nations, which includes the United States, Canada, Japan, the United Kingdom, Germany, France and Italy, as well as the European Union, are meeting at Taormina from May 26 to 27. U.S. President Donald Trump and Russia's President Vladimir Putin shake hands during a meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Hamburg, Germany. Incoming White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci talks with reporters during Regional Media Day at the White House, July 25, 2017 in Washington, D.C. Conservative media outlets were invited to set up temporary studios on the north side of the West Wing to interview White House officials and members of President Donald Trump's cabinet. John McCain, RAZ, leaves for the Senate chamber at the U.S. Capitol after voting on the GOP skinny repeal healthcare bill on July 28, 2017 in Washington, D.C. 3 Senate Republicans voted no to block a stripped-down, or skinny repeal, version of Obamacare reform. U.S. President Donald Trump looks up toward the solar eclipse while joined by his wife First Lady Melania Trump on the Truman balcony at the White House on August 21, 2017 in Washington, D.C. Millions of people have flocked to areas of the U.S. that are in the path of totality, in order to experience a total solar eclipse. U.S. President Donald Trump gestures during a rally at the Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. An earlier statement by the president that he was considering a pardon for Joe Arpaio, the former sheriff of Maricopa County who was convicted of criminal contempt of court for defying a court order in a case involving racial profiling, has